But what we don't talk about is deciding when to get out of a relationship. And it's just like a personal or romantic relationship, Uguti. When it stops serving you and it starts to disturb your peace, get the F out. Can I just ask, I think anyone can take it on the right. If someone is earning 10,000 Rand per month on average today, and they are aged between 23 and 35, and they don't necessarily have a child, a wife, or a husband, what are the better choices to make as far as risk cover is concerned, considering we have so many things to pay for in our pursuit of more wealth? Because a lot of people think, I'll get to the point, to your point, Zandi would say, I'll get to a point where I start thinking about these things, but if I'm only making 10,000 Rand today, what are the 2 or 3 products I should absolutely invest in?
Sure. I think the big thing is that we often think about financial wellness as this, I'm here today, and then if I speak to someone, I'm going to be perfect tomorrow. And I take out whatever they say, and I'm there. But I think we got to think about it as a lot more of a building block approach. So taking a first step to saying, well, 10,000 Rand, that's my budget today. That might change in future. But today, if I look at what's my biggest thing, I don't have dependents, so I don't have to worry. Yes, funeral's probably something, so I don't have to worry that my parents have to look after me or my family and friends have to pay for it. So look at solutions like that. But one that's often overlooked is this income protection concept, where you protect your income against you suffering either a temporary or a long-term illness, and it affects your income. And that can be that if you're a driver, you lose your leg. Now, you suddenly can't drive the truck anymore. That needs cover. Now, you can get certain levels of cover for that, but at least you've taken that first step. Now, say in a year's time, suddenly you're earning an extra 2,000-3,000 Rand, you've got a side hustle. There are solutions that allow you to have multiple streams of income covered. And thinking about that, I always go back to this thing the doctor once said, is that you buy a brand new car, the first thing they do is they phone you and say, you need car insurance. You need to go and protect it, because what happens if you drive into the curb, you dent it, you scratch it, you're going to lose value. No one says, well, this body of mine is going to get some dents and scratches over the next few years. I need to cover it now because I don't know what I'm going to drive into in this body. And I don't know if it's a behavioral thing that we can't see ourselves getting older, weaker, less strong. But people at younger ages think they're invincible. That is when you need to get the cover, because there is a stage when you won't be able to get cover because your body's all dented and broken.
And Tom, to that point, I want to, be naughty and say there are a lot of products out there that don't require underwriting, right? Especially if you're still a young person. It's free to get a quote. And that underwriting, I think, is also free. Do it anyway, because then you kind of get a free health scan. You at least know where there are problems, where there aren't, and I think that at least empowers a person to tick some of those boxes. Do I need to start exercising a little bit? Do I need to change my diet a little bit and start taking better care of myself? But I think there's definitely value in terms of underwriting and going through that process.
And also to add, because usually what people do is they just say, I need a life cover, without doing proper analysis. So to answer your question, to add to what Tom said, and to answer your question, my recommendation would be sit with a financial planner. They need to do a comprehensive financial needs analysis. Because as we sit here, our needs are different, and our solutions should be different as well. Because it could be that for me, I might need a life cover because I've got financial dependence. It could be that he doesn't have financial dependence. He only needs to secure his income for now. It could be that all other things are done. She just needs to then plan for retirement or plan for a certain goal. So then it's not safe to then say you need a life cover. It's like going to the doctor. You can't just say, doctor, I've got a headache, give me a Panado. If that doctor gives that Panado, I'll take my bag and I'll leave. I would rather want the doctor to firstly examine me and check my body and see what's wrong with my body,
Sure.
and then do the recommendation.
Guys, I know it can be quite overwhelming hearing these terms, hearing about life cover, risk insurance, what. And especially for the microwave generation, popcorn generation, where instant gratification is such a thing, where attention spans are so short, and you want something to satisfy you immediately, it's really important, again, to really immerse yourself in this information. And then do the research and be able to apply these things. Because tomorrow you is going to thank you for the decisions that you made today. It's really, really, really important. I want to take this opportunity to pivot a little bit. And let's speak about industry trends. Let's speak about challenges. Let's speak about opportunities. Tina, I'm going to throw it to you. What trends have you seen, industry trends have you seen or noticed, or if anything at all? And how are you keeping up with these trends and the opportunities that they present?
Is this pertaining to finances as well?
Speaking to finances, yeah. What are you noticing? What are you seeing?
I mean, one of the things that I realize is that, which is positive, I know we like talking about the negative trends that happen in the industry. There's quite a few of them. But I like the fact that there's quite a few more talent managers. And people are seeking a lot more advice from mentors versus just talking to friends who are inexperienced. There's nothing wrong with having conversation with friends, but there's so much more value in people that have worked the journey, whether be it within your career path or whether as a creative or whatever the degree of work that you're into. I've seen quite a few people that would otherwise, like Wasabi said earlier in their careers, they didn't have managers, and then now started speaking to people that will help and guide them within that. And for me, that's extremely important. It speaks to what we spoke about earlier, that I don't want, and this ties into what we just spoke about, right? I know, and I just want to bring this up. These are the parts of these workshops and these conversations that we find as boring as the audience, right? Because you're not telling me how to get in the industry and how to build wealth, But that's actually the essence of it. Everything that we're sharing from experiences, these beautiful stories, if they don't tie up to that, then all of this is just a quick injection that we're going to lose after we leave here. So I hope that we took that in, because that's extremely important. A lot of us are guilty of that. We just want the exciting stories from the celebrity but we don't want the actual knowledge that comes from these panels. And I don't want that to get lost in translation. And the reason I'm saying that is that I don't want, and I spoke about this earlier, the reason why I work the hardest when I'm at my most difficult is I don't want, when that big check comes, to only start fixing myself then. I want the big check to find me in a great enough health for me to enjoy it. I don't want, and I use this also when it comes to the office, I say to my team, or I say to people in my circle, do not go apply for a passport when you confirm the trip to a certain place. Get a passport now, because we all know the issue with home affairs, etc. So fix your journey before the journey starts, right? By virtue of doing that, not only are you, if Cebu calls you now, says, we're taking you to Atlanta for X, Y, and Z, and you've got your papers in place, but you're also manifesting it. You set yourself for that goal that you want. So there we go, yeah. If you can't cry about not winning the lottery if you haven't purchased the ticket, right? So start getting yourself ready for these things. Again, to the part that the expert spoke about, take these things in right now. I know the desire might be different right now. You're just looking at, how do I get work at Duma Collective? How do I get work for Liberty? How do I get, to work with Sebs at Power Play? How do I become a brand ambassador? How do I become a creative? But yeah, while you're working that out, also set yourself up. Remember I said 10% of your time with what we consume as junk. Take the time to learn these things, so by the time you get that big break of a job. Sebs gives you a call at Power Play or Monster Energy Group and says, yo, you're going to start working from July. You know that, okay, if my salary is 20K, I know immediately that not all of that is for me to consume. Or rather, not all of that is for me to consume immediately. From that, I'm going to consume 10, pay yourself a salary within a salary. So you're going into these spaces with a mindset already of a winner versus I'm going to repeat the same mistakes that were done. We didn't have, unfortunately, the privilege of getting educated around this because it was a bizarre topic. We're speaking about people that, we come from backgrounds where money is not spoken about. Your mom is providing, but you don't know where it comes from. But it's not spoken about. To many of our families, even just the words, telling your mom I love you was just a thing that you just don't do, right? It's so bizarre. But you had to unlearn that. There's a lot of other things financially that we have to unlearn. You don't have to wait to be wealthy in order to apply a wealthy mindset. So, back to what you're asking me about trends, I appreciate the fact that a lot more people within the creative space are starting to take that a little more serious. It might not be 50%, we're even far from 100%, but a few more people are starting to understand the value in that. And I see, when we speak to people, there's a lot more no. Speak to my manager, not from a place of ego or a place of I've made it, but from a place of, I've got people that speak for me, that understand this better, and guys are starting to take, to check in, did they speak to you? Are you, if you're struggling, let me know. So that's a positive progression towards, what it is that we've been a part of an industry that struggles. There's a lot of people that are successful today within the creative space, and tomorrow, God forbid anything happens, we have to contribute. Donate. But guy, you were at Diamond Walk. Nothing wrong with Diamond Walk, but what were you doing to make sure that you're okay, right? And we all, or a lot of us, are guilty of that. So the trend in seeking help from professionals, whether it be the legal team, whether it be financial advisors or your managers, and holding them accountable. That's another thing. To Wasabi's point earlier, I hope you understand, in as much as you don't want or like to negotiate, but in the decision, you have to be a part of the process in the background. You don't have to tell Tili that I'm not going to do it for 5 rand, but the decision to not or to take the 5 rand you have to be a part of it. I spoke about this 2 weeks ago. Sorry, I keep on referring to that. But George is a part of the Wasabi management team. So you have to collaborate with your management team. And all of these things that have been brought up here, otherwise, and I appreciate that about the industry. A lot more people are becoming savvy to the fact that they need experts. There's a lot more conversation around mental wealth within the talent. Unfortunately, we've lost some of the great talent that we've had here who are extremely influential. But that has become a positive conversation in using their passing, and it doesn't become in vain. We've used that to continue and to propel the conversation further. And a lot more people are speaking about when financially not doing well, when the career is on the decline, and they're reaching out more. And that for me is a positive trend. I don't want to touch on the negative ones. There's quite a lot of them, and we can speak until we're blue in the face. But from a positive trajectory, I like the fact that people are learning and are applying, whatever small degree of that, and yeah, man. And it's also positive that some things are shamed right now. It's positive that, I don't want to dwell too much into, I think you tapped into, we look at your balance statement, or rather your bank statement, you see if you're sending e-wallet to people, and, that there's things like being a blesser being shamed, right? There's a lot of things, young girls being with way older men as being shamed. And I'm speaking particular to my industry, because there's a lot of that happening. So those kind of things being shamed, for me, it's in a positive trajectory. I'm not telling people how to live their lives or how to spend their money, but the fact that there's now a new cool in how you spend your money and how you reach out to your people. People can brag now about, no, I don't mind if somebody brags about, I put Tili on, yeah, no, that door. I'm the one that, yeah, that's fine. That's the utkuma that I appreciate. But not bragging about, no, I was with such and such, we were drinking, whatever. Like, what does that do, right? So yeah, those are the trends that I truly appreciate. That's what I want to focus on. I don't want to talk about the negative stuff, because we do that every single day.
Okay.
can I just add just another layer to what he was saying? I think, and I wouldn't call it a trend, but just in the spaces that I work in, and I work with a lot of young creatives and young people, and that's the powerful work that I'm privileged to do through my brand. I just think young people today don't realize how much access they have. I think I call it generation access. There are so many platforms, and young people just have so many avenues where they can gain information and learn and teach themselves, right? But as a result of that access, there's a lot of gaps in the market that have been created, and I think the power comes in how you use that access to exploit the gap. And I think that's where the golden nugget lies. There's no point in having all this access and not knowing how to utilize it. And I think it goes back to saying, I always say you're as good as your network sometimes. There's no point in having a network, but you don't know how to use it.
Absolutely. And I think that speaks to, I guess, the ability to be able to spot an opportunity, right? And knowing what to do with that opportunity. Sibu, I'm going to throw it to you. You are in the business of opportunity, whether creating opportunities, whether, it's okay, Chum. But being in the creative space that you are in, as a heavyweight, as a heavy hitter, you are in the land of opportunity. How do you decide what opportunities to seize? What do you go after, particularly informed from a financial perspective? What informs those decisions for you? Why do you not say yes to everything?
I think it was mentioned earlier around, and it was George Wasabi who spoke about it, Uguti. I only have capacity for so much. And I mean, I sit in the privileged position of being the first employee at Duma Collective. So I could say absolutely yes to everything because there are other people who can do it. But I also have to have the presence of mind to say, if I say yes to this, then so-and-so is affected by my decision. That now they've got to work 3 times, 4 times as hard. When do they rest? When do they see their children? When does the balance come in? Because I decided that we're going to take on this client. That's 1. 2, financially, is it financially viable for us to be able to do this work? Am I able to do this thing without it being at the cost of the company and us digging into our pockets to be able to deliver on the service? 3, sometimes it's not at the price that we've quoted the client, and sometimes it's purely for the experience, as Tili mentioned earlier when we were talking about what makes a good deal. But also, it could be a vanity client that we are taking for the sake of saying we've got this client so that the next one will consider us for their job because we've managed to bag this client. It could be that it's going to create a different inroad into a different industry. There are clients that we've taken purely for the experience, the paid internship that Tili spoke about. Oguti, someone is paying us to learn about this new industry that we wouldn't have otherwise been involved in. So where there are so many opportunities, I evaluate that. What is the value exchange? And then lastly, can we actually do the job? Because sometimes people just want to work with us because they like what they see we've done for other people, but we actually might not be the right people for the job that they need. So for us, it's also to be honest to say, as much as this bag looks really great, I don't think I'm going to be able to do well on this job because it's going to compromise my reputation. We're not actually going to be able to do well, and then people are going to think XYZ of us. So it is that there's a lot of thought that goes into saying yes or no to a job, and it's mainly around the capacity, how it affects the other people, and what the value exchange is.
I think just to add on to that, in the individual sense, in influencer marketing, there's so much power to being able to say no. Because I'll make an example out of me. I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke. So I know in this industry, alcohol brands have budget. So always having to say no to those brands because I know my audience knows that very well about me. Now I'm posting a post with the bottle in my hand. They know immediately that he just took that for the bag. Yeah, they know very well that he doesn't drink, so this is just a collab that he did for the bag. So saying no to those type of things may be tough because they have the biggest budget when it comes to advertising, things like that. But another brand that came to me was these Forex things, trading and stuff like that. I'm like, I've never once tweeted about trading. I've never once posted anything. Now I'm gonna say, hey guys, what's good? Don't mind these sneakers. Let's not talk sneakers now. Let's talk trading. They'll immediately just switch. They'll just switch off. So because they know that that's not wasabi. Wasabi doesn't talk those things. So saying no, it's also keeping your brand genuine, because they know that when he does want to talk about something, let's sit down and listen, because he's actually putting his stamp of approval on that. He's actually speaking about something that he wants you guys to try, rather than taking a check and then you being a billboard. Companies can use billboards anytime they want. Influencer marketing is not being about billboards, it's about me translating the language that the brand speaks to my audience. Yeah, and if my audience knows that, hey, uthanda magwinya, I'm gonna sell those gwinyas. Like those gwinyas, like people will buy them, you know. Rather where, I remember the most painful thing where an alcohol brand approached me. They were like, we want to take you to an all expenses paid trip to a concert and things like that. And I was so happy until they said, okay, the first post we want you is to be drinking the bottle. I was like, oh, because I knew I'm gonna have to say no, because I don't drink the drink. I don't know anything about the product, so I'm gonna have to say no. It's painful at that moment because you know what you're losing out on a huge bag, on huge opportunities. But I think it's a bigger opportunity to stay genuine.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. That speaks to authenticity. Sibo.
I would say, sometimes the opportunity can also be unlocked in the discovery or in the education. And I would then challenge it to the brands and the agencies to say to them, sometimes the people that you want to collaborate with in order to drive a message to an audience, understand how those people can help you do that. Because even though a wasabi doesn't drink alcohol, the conversation can be about exactly that. To say, I don't drink alcohol for reasons X, Y, Z, but I do have a circle of friends who do. And for those, I would recommend this because of a X, Y, Z. So it's sometimes that it's not saying no because it doesn't align with me, but it can be, yes, I can, but this is how. I'm not going to hold the drink and pretend I'm drinking it. However, I am going to discover this brand and find out what it stands for, what are the things that are really cool about it, and here's why I would recommend it. And if you really get to a point where you don't recommend it, then you absolutely say no. But I do think in a bid to secure the bag, sometimes it really is about finding the cheat or the way to do it in a way that aligns with how you communicate with your audience and what your audience likes. But that goes to you knowing your audience well enough to be able to consult or collaborate with the brand in order to achieve their objectives.
Tilly?
Sibu's response is so critical because it speaks to something I'm extremely passionate about. You see, when you don't, I don't operate from a place of ego, so I've learned to strip that off my persona. So I'm not afraid of collaborations. I'm not afraid of being outshined in the work that I'm doing. At the end of the day, it's about getting the task done. Sometimes you collaborate with great people. Sometimes you collaborate with pricks, right? So I'm not afraid if I consult Sibu. To your example, let's say your management team, right? When they speak to you, and this is exactly what management is exactly what Sibu is saying. I'm being approached by brand X, I don't consume alcohol. It is part of their responsibility to figure out how is it that you can show up in that space without compromising who and what you are. But sometimes it's not because they figure it out themselves. Like, no, I've got Sibu on the phone. I know she's done a lot of collaborations with brands, and she continues to grow from an agency perspective. Now, I pick up the phone and call Sibu. I don't care if she says, but Tilly's supposed to know this. Whatever, I call her, say, yo, we've got such and such. I'm building towards being a part of this. Does it make sense? Can we sit? Can we have the coffee that we talk about? And can you make me see another angle? And without exploiting the relationship. Sometimes the collaboration goes as far as, look, we secure this from your advisory and you'll continue to be a part of building this. This is what your cut of this is. So instead of me now getting 100%, I'm sacrificing 20%, but I'm at a better position to negotiate the deal. You are now introduced to a new space. You have now introduced a new way that brand X can show up within the operation, and it's still valuable to everyone. And your audience get to learn that, oh, Wasabi is not just the funny guy, he can be part of a financial conversation. You know, to this example, when we approached our incredible host, it is not something that we'd seen her do. It is because we know that she's a host, however, not within the financial space. At least it wouldn't have worked anyways, because brand wouldn't work with anybody that's been affiliated with another financial institution. But when we spoke to her, or rather spoke to her team, we were then able to craft a way in which that she would show up. You know, the talent is there, we know, but we shouldn't be stuck on being one-dimensional. Also, we should be able to draw the line between that and compromising yourself. And that applies to a lot of other things, right? When we're looking for jobs, you come to Power Play, you say, I want to be a brand manager. And they tell you that's not the position that we have right now. We've got a position to be a promoter, to be X, Y, and Z. Okay, I'm going to allow myself to be in the space. It is not exactly what I want, but I'm going to be in the space enough to learn about this and potentially to show you my value within that. And eventually, you will realize my value within what I want, and I wind up in the position that I am. So I think that's also important on a practicality perspective, that in as much as we have to know and set our boundaries of what we want or what we don't want, it's also important to understand that sometimes it's introducing a different dimension to myself. But yeah, it's very tricky. It's not black and white. There's a lot of gray in between. But that's what your management is there for. It shouldn't just be, I know, imagine they want you to no. But yeah, tell me factually why, outside of the fact that that's not what I do. That's not reason enough. Then I'm just a booking agent. I'm not a manager, I'm a booking agent. I'm just accepting bookings and sending invoices. But the part of the management is figuring out why I shouldn't do it. Justify to me why I should or shouldn't do it. Even if you're motivating for me to do it, it shouldn't just be the check. You know, tell me the reasons why I should do it. And that applies, like I said, to us as well. You want to be a part of this brand X and to do a certain position, justify wishing yourself why you should try out other aspects within the industry, or rather the business, in order to get your foot in. So I just wanted to.
And also, I've seen a lot of people start out on a positive note when getting into these relationships. And, you know, we do talk about grab opportunities, etc. But what we don't talk about is deciding when to get out of a relationship. And it's just like a personal or romantic relationship, Uguti. When it stops serving you and it starts to disturb your peace, get the F out. Because when you have to compromise the intention behind it, which was initially to do good work, and now you're just doing work, you've got to get out. And that's where the contracts come into play. Uti, when you started the relationship, it was all fun and games. You didn't anticipate, if things go badly, am I going to be able to get out of this? And that's at that point where you need to exercise that clause of the termination. Uti, what is the implication of me getting out of this contract because it no longer serves me? And not in a malicious way to say, okay, I've gotten everything I need to get out of it, I'm out of here, at the cost of the people who put you on, or whatever the story is. But it is to say, I thought that I was going into something that was going to be good for me, and it turns out it is not. It's okay to walk away.
Yeah, that's so important, man. And I appreciate that you bring that up, because one of the things that we do, or rather that from a power play perspective with our relationship, before any renewal of our contracts, Seb's always asked the question, is this something that you or he still wants to do? That's always been the opening statement, you know, and from that perspective, we're able to build onto that, you know. And we're able to share that, no, within a year or two, it might not work. Even the brand says, you know, within a year or two, it might not work. We just handed over another campaign within the past month or so. We just handed it over to another talent, because to us, that part of the business does not pertain to us anymore. And to Sibu's point, we didn't say, we're done with them, we don't want because we've got money or because we don't need them. We said, okay, we'll assist the campaign with the handover. right? We'll assist it with the handover. Yes, we're getting lesser than we would ask for, but it's making sure that transition is smooth, because the same brand manager could move to another brand. And even if they never do, even if we never need them again, it is always good to have and make sure that the relationship is intact. So yeah, it's not all about just taking every check that comes to your table. Sometimes it is assisting the people that helped you get it in order to help you step out, you know.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Then I guess it speaks to the challenges that we go through, whether as an entrepreneur or as a young professional. There is no industry that is not without its challenges. Sebs, maybe I'm going to bring it to you. In your professional journey, in your corporate space, is there what do you think is the most valuable lesson you've learned navigating that space that you can maybe share with everyone?
The biggest thing that I've learned is that I am my biggest investment. I think we pour so much into these companies and businesses that we work for, you know, and you give so much of yourself. And these businesses, brands, organizations that we work for thrive and are alive because of the people that work in it. And I've had to learn my value and what it is that I bring to the table of that organization, but also the value that I bring to the teams that I lead and manage. And so for me, when I say I'm my biggest investment, I never stop learning. I don't think I'm too smart or too good or too experienced to learn. I always open up myself to put myself in uncomfortable situations. I've never spoken, well, this is my second panel, and when Tilly asked me, I was like, do I have knowledge to impart? But I put myself in spaces that are uncomfortable for me to open myself up to new things, to learn new things. And over and above learning from experiences, I take a long-term view of what's happening in my environment and where are my gaps. What do I still need to learn? Do I need to go back to school? What does that mean? Do I have the money for it? Do I still have to plan to go do my MBA because it's mighty expensive? You know, yeah, for me what I've learned is that I am my biggest investment, and when I do look after myself and invest in myself, I have more of myself to give to the people in and around me and to the organizations that I work for.
Absolutely. That's incredibly inspiring. And I think a lot of people can see themselves that way. And I think if you have that kind of perspective, you almost become really precious with yourself and with your own time and your own efforts. And you want to protect that and to nurture it as much as possible. And I hope we inspire and really empower that in you guys to really, again, I think for us at the beginning of the session and what we were committing to do, and if you allowed yourself and gave yourself the opportunity to really leave this room better than how you came in. I don't know how much you've allowed yourself to absorb. I don't know how much of a sponge you were. I'm sitting here soaking so much in. I know what I know, but I definitely did not know enough, and I've gathered so much from everyone who's been here. So thank you so much for everything that you guys have shared.